Welcome to the Global War Watch Network. Russia just tested a missile that never needs to land, a nuclear-powered weapon with unlimited range and, they claim, unstoppable speed. You know, it really feels like the world has officially entered a new era of warfare. Okay, let's get into what this really means. So let's take a closer look at this weapon that President Putin calls invincible. And here's the core claim, the big idea. It's a cruise missile powered by its very own nuclear reactor. This means it's capable of staying in the air for days, maybe even longer. All right, first up, let's talk about the myth. What does Russia want the world to believe about its new missile? Its Russian name is Burevestnik, but you'll probably know it by its NATO call sign, Skyfall. When Putin unveiled this weapon, he presented it as a total strategic game changer. The message was crystal clear. This missile is specifically designed to make every missile defense system out there completely useless. I mean, on paper, its abilities sound like something straight out of science fiction, right? A missile with unlimited range that can just fly around the globe, hugging the terrain to avoid radar, just waiting for the command to strike from literally any direction. But how is that even possible? To get our heads around how Russia claims this works, we need to look at the machine itself. The tech behind Skyfall is pretty radical, but it also has a surprisingly long and, frankly, dangerous history. So the whole secret sauce is the engine. Instead of carrying a limited supply of fuel like a normal missile, this thing carries its own miniature nuclear reactor. Think about that. It has its own power plant on board. In theory, its fuel supply never, ever runs out. So the process starts with a pretty standard rocket launch to get it up to speed. But then, that tiny reactor kicks in and it just keeps going. This is what allows it to fly for those incredible distances, way beyond any conventional missile. But the real question is, does this incredible machine actually work as advertised? Okay, so that's the myth. Now for the really interesting part. What happens when we compare that story to the cold, hard reality of its development? The official claims are one thing. The testing history, though, well, that tells a very, very different story. Yeah, that history is not exactly a glowing success. Between 2017 and 2019, Russia conducted at least 13 known tests of this missile. And the vast majority of those tests were failures. One incident was especially tragic, highlighting just how extremely dangerous it is to handle what is essentially a flying nuclear reactor. And this quote from a former U.S. State Department official really just hits the nail on the head. That nickname, Flying Chernobyl, isn't just for when it crashes. It's because the design uses an unshielded reactor that would spew radioactive material along its entire flight path, even when it's working perfectly. You know, what's really wild is that this isn't even a new idea. The United States explored this exact concept over 60 years ago with something called Project Pluto, and they abandoned it because they decided it was just unacceptably reckless and dangerous. So that leads to the obvious question. If this weapon is so flawed, so dangerous, and based on an idea that was scrapped decades ago, why is Russia pouring all these resources into it? The answer seems to be less about technology and more about strategy. Well, experts believe the answer isn't simple. It's really a complex cocktail of strategic motivations, a little bit of paranoia, and a whole lot of political theater. So it looks like the main driver is a genuine, even if it's an exaggerated, fear of American missile defenses. But it's also about projecting power, looking tough on the world stage. Plus, it creates a bargaining chip for future arms control talks, and of course, keeps Russia's own weapons designers and factories busy. So why does any of this matter to the rest of the world, especially if the missile might never truly work? Well, when you put it side by side with Russia's other advanced nuclear weapons, like the hypersonic Sarmat ICBM, the Burevestnik starts to look, well, militarily redundant. Kind of inferior, actually. Its slow, subsonic speed makes it pretty vulnerable to the kinds of air defenses that are already out there. But look, just developing a weapon like this, whether it works or not, it sends a message. It signals a really dangerous new chapter in strategic competition, and it could unravel decades of arms control agreements, especially with key treaties set to expire soon. So ultimately, you have to ask yourself, is this weapon more effective as a tool for political intimidation than it is as a practical, usable military asset? It's a tough question. Thank you so much for your time. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Global War Watch Network. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so share them in the comments section. And you can join us on social media. All the links for that are in the description below.